Welcome to the Knighthood Podcast, a 30-minute weekly catch-up on all things Newcastle Knights with your hosts, Michael and James. So strap in and let's go. Good evening, James. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Glad to be here, particularly after another night's victory. Marathon Stadium held up well with those atrocious conditions. I couldn't believe the rain, on TV watching it. But yeah, the Knights played well and really happy with that victory. But we'll go through that in depth now, really.
Yeah, well, it's funny that you call it Marathon Stadium. It's now McDonald Jones Stadium, but yeah, well, obviously we grew up in the early days and refer to it still as Marathon Stadium. Yeah, good victory. It's good to see the boys clicking into gear. It was a pretty critical game. If they didn't aim up there and win that, the season was starting to take a bit of a sour shape. But fortunately for us, peachy at the moment. We won and we're gritters.
Yep.
So welcome everybody to tonight. Really looking forward to the round 5 review and round 6 preview. I just want to give a bit of a shout out. Basically, in the description of this YouTube video, you can find links that will basically take you to certain sections. So review, preview, tips and betting, etc. So they'll also be on the little bar in the video. You can skip to certain sections. So if you don't want to listen to us go on all night for an hour or so, you can skip the sections. Want to give a shout out to my mum, Lynn. She's in Newcastle watching tonight live. Hi, she came down to Sydney last night, so I thought I'd give her a shout out. Well, let's get cracking into it, mate. We'll get into our round 5 review and round 6 preview for the Newcastle Knights 2024 season. Tonight, we've got a comprehensive show. We're going to run over the review, as we mentioned, the Knighthood Player of the Year, the NRL Adjusted Ladder, quickly touch on where we're at in the season in terms of, are we performing? Are we underperforming? Then we'll run over the second half of the show, injuries and suspension updates, hard decisions for the coach, basically the things he had to ponder before bringing the teams out today. We'll run through the team list review from Team List Tuesday. We'll go over our players on notice, which we call Fire Up. And then we've got Roosters versus Knights head-to-head. This is where we get into the stats and looking at both of the sides of the lining up and what they did last week. Then we go over the Roosters and the Knights key stats. We also run over match officials and weather forecasts, something different that we've added in that is another thing that we need to factor in. And then we'll give our final analysis and tipping review and tips for the week, round 6. So overall, we've created a system here that allows us to make better decisions in regards to punting. And we'll show you later on in the show how we're performing. Let's get into it. Knights beat the Dragons 30-10, even though the Dragons had an awesome record against us coming up. And I think it was something like we had a losing record of something like, 80%. It was like 80% of the time the Dragons came up here, they beat us. So, look, great performance. Let's skip through all of this. So we beat them 30-10, 5 tries to 2. Ponga, he's kicked 16 from 16 this year. He's 5 from 5 in conversions. And geez, James, what do you think of some of those conversions he made? Pretty awesome.
Nailing it. He's obviously put a lot of work in over the off season because I never really saw him as a strong kicker, back or even last year. So
yeah,
it's great that he's put the work in and it's paying off.
And did you know that he's working with Chook, Daryl Halligan?
No, I didn't. That's great.
There you go.
That's old school. One of my favorites from back in the day.
Yeah. We all remember that famous kick that he got from the sideline and beat us that day.
Yeah.
I think we used to sit over that side of the ground, Marathon Stadium.
On the hill, yep.
Yeah. But anyway, so look, Ponga's, he's had a great start to the season. We'll get into that. Coming up, we've got a Dally M ladder leaderboard coming up to show you too. So Possession and completions are pretty even overall. We had a slight advantage there. The Dragons 65% completion rate versus our 76%. So once again, we had a slight edge there, and run meters were very similar. Line breaks there at 6-4 for the Knights. Anything else there that really sticks out is that the Dragons had 10 offloads to our 3. So that really goes back into our team tactics, and we are going to have a little segment there on team tactics coming up. James is going to present some info. So I felt that the Dragons kind of pushed the ball around and got a little bit frustrated that they couldn't win the arm wrestle in that second half, especially. And then they started throwing it around. I think that's when we basically had them by the jugular. Kicking, we kicked really well. Introduction of Hastings and Colga combo. So 646 kicking meters versus 432 there for the Dragons. So we outkicked them. It's a pretty good effort too when you got Ben Hunt kicking. He's a fairly good kicker. Our kick defusal was 58% versus 53% to the Dragons. Now, obviously, it was a wet weather match, so that's to be expected. Defense, thought the Dragons' defense was pretty good, even though we ended up scoring some good tries. Their effective tackle percentage was a bit higher than ours, but obviously overall our defense was better. I don't think the Dragons threw as much at us though. But both teams defended pretty well. It was a good quality match for the wet. It was super wet. God, it wasn't muddy. The new grass, it doesn't get muddy. It's just like a little bit of a tinge of mud, not so much. God, I remember back in the day when we were in the backyard and we used to play footy. That was a mud bath. It was fun.
Or remember back in the day, you'd be playing at an oval and the old cricket pitch area. That'd just be absolute mayhem.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't
just mud everywhere.
Well, our home ground when we were juniors is Beresfield Oval. Did it? I can't remember it. It had a cricket pitch, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jeez. Getting back to the old memory there. I remember the little hill at Barrow when we used to do. Shout out to Shorty if he's ever watching this podcast. Our old coach. We used to do a little hill there, and you made me spew a couple of times. Anyway,
you flogged the crap out of us.
That was good fun.
That was.
Anyway, back into the stats. So look, overall, we in defense was pretty good. Missed tackles was pretty even. Negative play. We didn't make many errors in the first half, but as the conditions got worse, that got worse. And 18 errors for the Dragons is pretty high. Can't really win a match at NRL making 18 errors. Penalties conceded there, more against the Dragons than the Knights, 5-2. And that's the stats rundown. Did anything really stick out there, James, or you want to keep cracking on?
No, actually the one thing I wouldn't mind bringing up is the kick defusal thing. And I know it was a wet night, but the trend across the season so far for us has been around that between 60 and 65 mark. Kick defusal. That's a big issue for us, I think. Obviously losing Dom Young, who was pretty good in the air. We just haven't had that sort of, being able to, particularly against Fogarty in that first round. He really showed us out. So I think that's an area where we can improve. I'm not really going to bust their balls too much over against the Dragons because it was a wet night, but they really need to sort of pick that area up, I think.
Yep, 100%. It's, I guess that could come down to selections, and I guess we'll get into player performance pretty soon. So, look, let's skip through this segment and player stats, which is proving to be a pretty handy little section of stats that we can run over because we start to get a pretty good read and feel for where we're performing on a stats point of view as a team and in certain segments of the team. So the back five, we ran for 598 meters this week compared to the previous week of 875. Tawala led the way for the second week in a row at 168 meters. Starting middle forwards really aimed up this week. They got 365 compared to 248 last week. And JSAF also, he also topped it again for the second week at 133 meters. So good effort there from JSAF. I think he's been really good all year, really, JSAF.
Yes. Yeah.
Starting back row ran for 250 meters compared to 200 the previous week. And then once again, KPP led the way. So consistent performances here. We're starting to see a pattern. He got 135 meters, and he's also been really good. Couldn't have asked for a better start from him, really. Okay, so the bench ran for 284 in comparison to the week before at 249, so an improvement there. Halves and hooker ran for 144 over last week at 104, so an improvement there as well. DSAF led off the bench. Sorry, I missed that at 139, and Hastings, he led the halves at 68 meters. And kicking meters, we saw Hastings at 106 meters. Cogger got 287, so he did the majority of the kicking and also was pretty effective with his short kicking game. Ponga at 238 meters. Similar amount of meters compared to his last week. So goals, we touched on it. Ponga 5 from 5, 16 from 16 for the season at 100%. And, they only made 3 offloads all match. KPP made 2, Hetherington made 1. Line breaks, 2 to Tuala, 2 to Ponga, and 1 to Lucas and 1 to Crocker. And as you can see there on the slide that once again, there's a pattern. Tuala and Ponga and Lucas are the ones normally making the line breaks for us. Tackle breaks, Ponga at 8 compared to his 7 the week before. KPP 2 compared to his 4 the week previous, and Lucas 3, and he got 4 the week before. So, once again, it's repeating. Ponga scored a try, Tuala scored a try, Hastings scored a try, Lucas scored a try, DSAF scored a try. Try assists, 1 to Ponga, 1 to Tuala, 2 to Cogger, and 1 to Hastings. So, the halves and the spine are sharing it out there. It's pretty complete performance when you look at this. Top tacklers was Lucas at 43 and 3 missed. Brayley at 38 and 3 missed. Elliott 35 and 1 missed. Lowest tackle efficient was Ponga at 66%, Tuala at 66%, and Jenkins at 75%. No surprises there. The backs, the outside backs there, and they don't make a lot of tackles, and a lot of the time they're just kind of they're not always having to make 100% tackle efficiency. So I don't think there's really too much to be concerned there. But we'd like to see those numbers a little bit higher. Errors, 4 to Ponga. So we made a few errors, and so did our friend Jenkins, who was our player on notice last week. He let's get into it a bit. He dropped it off the kick return after we scored a try and put pressure on the side. I know James sent me a private message when that happened. What do you think? What are your thoughts on Jennings, mate?
I don't know if it's a confidence thing, but yeah, he's really struggling under the high ball. He's making a lot of errors at the moment. I don't want to bag him out, but
look, we're here to analyze performance, and we're not doing anything here personally against him. We don't know the bloke, and his personality is secondary to the team's performance here. So, from a team performance point of view, he was our player on notice last week, or one of them, and I actually highlighted out that it could cost us a victory, a critical kind of error. And look, overall, it didn't cost us. It's good to see the coach has got confidence in Jenkins, and he's probably a player that will feature in our side in the future. Maybe I think in the centres. And good luck to him with his development. And I think it should be in reserve grade. We'll get onto the team selections for the week in the second half of the show. Sorry, Matt, I did cut you off. Did you have anything else you wanted to add there on him?
Well, I think him coming in was more of a a stopgap for Marzu being out. So pretty much when Greg's ready to come back, he'll come back in, and Jenkins will probably go back to reserve grade or wherever AOB wants him.
And I think there was a chance that O'Brien had in his mind to put him out of the side, but I think when Frizzell went down and then Lucas couldn't play in the centres, then that probably affected the plan. A late last minute change. I think he would have made that before kickoff. So let's wrap up the segmented player stats. Penalties given. We only gave away 2 penalties. Outstanding. 1 to Cross and 1 to Lucas. James, this is your new segment. Do you want to quickly run us through your technical breakdown of the side's tactics?
Yeah, so I mean, in the coming weeks, hopefully it can get a bit more. We're speaking privately about maybe adding some video to this section just to sort of so it correlates with what's actually written down. But just tonight, I've wrote down some key points of what I noticed during the game.
Okay.
But I'll be So first point, I've just got the Knights were very disciplined in their execution of the game plan. They were pretty conservative out of the backfield, followed by high kicks into the corners. And which didn't allow the Dragons. So the Dragons were coming out of their own end in very tough conditions. So basically, very simple game plan of what you'd do. You'd hope to do in wet conditions, and they just played it really, really basic early on. I mean, they probably got a bit more expansive at times, but it depended where they were field position wise. Second point, when the Knights started sets in good attacking position, just like I said, they opted for their preferred play of attacking the right side defense, which is our left, in hopes of catching out the Dragons up and in defense. So, teams tend to have that reaction to Ponga chiming in. The winger usually freaks out. He jams in, and Ponga, if he nails it, that frees up the winger. And that happened twice. The first time
good
for
execution.
a try. Yeah, beautiful passes, and that one where I think Tuala put the kick back in. Yeah.
So good.
So, yep. And the next point, 2 times Ponga was able to catch so I just mentioned that one. Just the short kicking game. I thought it was perfectly executed for the conditions when we're inside their 20. Actually, there was one that was probably kicked from further out, the one that resulted in DSAF scoring.
Yeah. Look, it was great to see the Knights scoring tries off kicks, because we haven't traditionally been known as a team to score from kicks, and except back in the days, when we had like Uwadi and stuff. And I do remember in the past we used to, probably back in the Johns era, we scored more off kicks, but we haven't probably since the Johns era, and now it's just good. I just hope we see more of it, because especially this tactic of teams sort of going out wide and then the wingers kicking in the inside, it's very hard to defend. So we seem to be right onto that. So hats off to the coaching staff and to the players for executing this. It's definitely valuable part of our game, and adds another dimension. Makes us more potent in attack. Good work, James. These are the press conference notes. After I watched the conference, and basically I make a summary here, so you don't have to spend 7 minutes watching a press conference every week. He basically said the boys were great, especially in the first half, into the wind, and they got tries by turning the ball underneath and chasing the kicks. That was their strategy, and that's what we touched on in the tactics. It was an impressive performance on a 4-day turnaround, and he kind of went into the match in New Zealand and traveling back, and he said they did a remarkable job. And we did note that one of the key things to watch in this match was to see if they were flat early. And if they were flat early, we recommended that you probably get on and back the Dragons. But they weren't, and their energy levels held up throughout the match. So once again, coaching staff and players, outstanding job to really turn that around and aim up against a fresh Dragon side that they were much fresher than us. And I was pretty concerned about that. Both halves, they said, managed to end of sets well, and they kept the team on the game plan. So I think basically what he was saying there is like they didn't get bored of playing simple footy, and they just stuck to it. And when they got ahead a little bit, they didn't lose their heads. They kind of stuck to the game plan, which is awesome. He was happy about Braylon and Crossland combining well, and happy that Brayley made it through the match. And I'll say that I'm happy he made it through the match. I was very nervous and will continue to be nervous for Brayley. It's very important for our team that he stays fit and stays in that 9 jersey and keeps building confidence in the spine with the team. It's critical to our season. And no surprise that when, all the key spine members are together and Brayley's there starting, that we, it looked a lot sharper. And Crossland looked better off the bench too. He was making more runs.
Yeah, he did.
Jacob, Leo and Elliot, the middle three, said that he was really happy in the first 30 minutes. They set a good platform, and then he said Daniel Safidi also had the best game of the season and led the way.
I'd agree.
So look, they all aimed up. They all played really well, and he said that the fans were unreal. Snorkel
Some great
guy.
footage came out, didn't it? Yeah, snorkel guy. There was a guy eating a soggy bloody hot dog.
Yeah,
It didn't look too good, but gotta love him for the dedication and being out there.
Yeah, no, makes me think. One time we should try and go to a wet game like that when it's real hardcore conditions. You're not a true Knights supporter unless you really been to one of those games. I can remember going to those games as a kid, but I don't think so much as an adult.
I remember going to a big game against Western Suburbs, and it absolutely poured down like it was just ridiculous. But not a modern day game I haven't been to.
That would have been
when it's
old
been
school.
Absolutely pumping down. Yeah, it was
back
in the 90s.
Ponga's comments in the press conference were that they played well. The mindset of going through the middle, worked, and then they stuck to the game plan. And he said that both halves controlled the game well, and he was happy. And he mentioned the Daryl Halligan kicking. He said that Chook would be happy. Okay, James, let's give us your key points and final summary for the match.
Yeah, so I've got my first point. The opening 20 minutes was closely contested, with the Dragons taking a 10 points to 6 lead due to 2 tries from great plays by Zach Lomax. Both Dragons tries came down to individual brilliance rather than poor Knights play. And I thought, the pickup that he did for the first try in the conditions was ridiculous. So great effort for you got to give him that. And then that ridiculous around the back flick pass to put him 10-6 in front. I thought that happening in those conditions, I don't think we did a whole lot wrong, to be honest. So when it got to 10-6, I wasn't too worried. I know you were a bit worried when we were texting, but I personally was okay because I didn't see that as an issue that it was from the Knights. Really, I was happy to cop
That's a good
that
point.
because
I was definitely nervous.
Yeah, you definitely were.
Well, yeah, I mean it's in my points there, but I'll touch on it now. So yeah, I was thinking, we started well here. We're on top of them, but they've scored these 2 fluky tries and they've got this great record. And there's a chance that, maybe their heads will drop a bit and then they'll get tired. So then, look, I'll let you run through the rest of yours, but there was I'm going to touch on it in a second. There's a critical point there in the match after they scored that try. But yeah, you finish yours and I'll come back to that.
Yeah, so my next point, the Knights took the game away from the Dragons in the second stage of the first half by sticking to the game plan of high completions and adept kicking in the atrocious weather conditions. So, yeah, I just found in that second stage of the first half, that's when we scored that try off the DSAF try.
Yeah.
And our kicking game in general. And we were just down there a bit more. We started dominating in that second period of the first half.
They were running amok. It was good.
Yeah, so I think we took a 24-10 lead at the break, which is, we'll take that all the time. My next point, the game turned into a bit of a grind in the second half, more due to the worsening conditions. As a result, the Knights' completion rate dropped towards the end compared to where it was around the 60-minute mark. So around the 60-minute mark, I remember it was around the 90% mark. So, and I think we ended up around 75. So we were doing well, but we dropped away at the end. Anyway, the Knights scored 1 try in the second half to give themselves a 30-10 victory in trying conditions. So, yeah, I mean, overall, I thought they handled the conditions fantastic. There were some errors towards the end of the game, which sort of made the completion rate look a bit bad. But, hey, 30-10, you'll take that any day. So, great performance, boys.
Great performance. The boys turned up in the wet. They stuck to the simple game plan, went through the middle, turned the ball under, chased their kicks. I'll get onto this key moment now and reflect on it a bit. I think after that, I've mentioned the points there about, the Knights had plenty of chances or excuses basically to drop their heads and kind of that was a critical turning point, I think, in not just the match but the season, where they really said, okay, let's knuckle down here and let's show them what we've got. And they basically, within 5 minutes, they turned it around and then they scored that beautiful try off the Ponga pass out to Tuala. And that just, from that, they just rolled on and took the lead to half time and then just wrestled them out of it. And Ponga then sealed the deal right at the end, and it was just a brilliant win. I really enjoyed the match and the grit from the team and the execution, and I've made a note here that I really think things are coming together now. Great signs, and I thought that was a top 4 performance. What do you think, James? Is that a top 4 performance?
When I saw that, I was like, "Whoa, you've really changed your tune." But to me, it was a very solid performance. I mean, it was more of a, what makes it probably a top 4 performance is the fact that there was no panic there. They just went through the process, particularly in that second half where it got into the grind. They weren't sort of trying to push it. They were just going through it. And then when that try came, if it was 70 minutes into the game, so be it. So that probably showed a lot of maturity and probably points to a top 4 performance.
Yeah. So, I think it was a top 4 performance. Very positive. And as I said in the season preview, if everything clicks for this side, we'll make the top 4. So I think everything did click in this match. We had a pretty much close to full strength side. We executed a game plan at home, and that's what we should continue to do and build on. And let's get into the next bit. The 3-2-1 player of the year. What were your votes, James?
Yeah, so my player of the match was Kalen Ponga. I thought he was just in everything. He's our go-to player. He's our marquee player, and he's playing great at the moment. Yeah, he made a few errors, but he done the great stuff he did sort of cancelled that out really. So I could not go past him getting the 3 points. 2 points, Jack Cogger. I thought he was great. He was in everything. His kicking was really steady. He was getting us around the field. And I thought him and Hastings actually worked really well in this game.
That was good. Yeah, it was a good start.
Yeah, I was surprised to see how well that worked. Tawala, he got my 1 point. I think he's been really, really solid for us. Didn't expect him to be this solid, and he's just making meters. He's not making too many errors. He's just been really impressive, and I had to give him 1 point there.
And as we pointed out last week, he's a confidence player, and his confidence is building, and it's great to see he's building in combination with Ponga. It's great to see his development, and the coaches put a lot of faith into Wala. So well done to the coaching staff again, giving them lots of raps at the moment, but credit where it's due. I went Ponga for 3, 1 try assist, 5 from 5 in goals. Scored the winning try, set up the try that really turned the momentum in the match. How could you not give him 3? Just execution, outstanding kicking. Really a vintage performance from Ponga, and Jack Cogger also. I thought he deserved 2 points. 26 tackles, 1 missed, 287 kick meters, 2 try assists. Very, very solid, complete performance. And Lucas, I just thought I rate this guy. Wherever he plays, he just aims up, and he's just a really talented and dedicated player. And it's a bit of man love here. I'm starting to enjoy his performances to the point where he's become one of my favorite players. So keep going, Lucas. You're doing a good job. Just a note, I think the forwards aimed up, and it's really hard to ignore the key spy members who executed the victory. And I think that's ultimately why they got my votes. And I just think the touches of class from Lucas. I just watch his game closely in the coming weeks out there, guys and girls. He just does all the little things right, and he's just he scored a good try, and he's a solid player. Go Dylan Lucas.
Yeah, I rate him.
Okay, so player of the year ladder. Well, Ponga's skipped out with 15. He's had 3. Is it 3
He's
in
killing
a row?
it. Yeah, I think so.
Man in the matches. So what does this remind you of? 2023. Ponga went on a string of getting man on the matches, and then they strung together wins. Were 2 from 3, or 2 wins and 1 loss in the last 3 matches. And we'll get onto it in a second. I made a note last week that I want to just touch on, but look, he's way out in front. Daniel Safidi is coming second, and Dane Gagai is coming second on 7. Jacob Safidi's on 6. They've been our most consistent performers all year. Daily M leaderboard. Okay, Kalen Ponga is on 17, and the closest player there is Edwards and a string of others on 12. We predicted it, didn't we? We said Ponga would probably get the Daily M Player of the Year after 5 rounds. He's well out in front. So in our season preview, I think we both said he's going to have a good year, and the Knights are going to, definitely challenge for a top 4 spot and challenge and definitely make the top 8. I still think we're certainties for the top 8, unless we have a major injury crisis or something really bad goes wrong.
Oh, don't put the mocker on us.
I'm not going to put the mocker on us. The NRL adjusted ladder. So we're sitting in 13th place on 2 wins. So just to touch on the ladder, I've taken out the buys. So basically, this is just based on pure wins. The teams in bold on the ladder are teams that have a game up their hand, so they've only played one less game than the other teams. And then you can see in this column that says played, that basically we've played the Cowboys, who are first. We've played the Storm, who are third, and beat them. And we've played the Raiders and the Warriors, who we've lost to, but they're 5th and 6th. So basically, out of the top 6, we've played 4 sides. So at the strength of our class, like looking at this like a race form, of a horse race form, we've got a strength in class here compared to the Roosters, who have actually not played any teams in the top 6. 2 losses against 7th and 8th in the Seagulls and Panthers. A win against the Broncos, who are in 12th, and a loss against the Bulldogs, who are in 14th, and a loss against a win against the Rabbitohs, who are in 16th. So this is good. The current NRL ladder doesn't tell you a lot. It's very confusing. This is going to give you a lot of clarity. So look, we're in 13th position. We're on 2 wins. To be in the top 8, you need 3 wins. I'm going to keep probably saying it all year. That game against Canberra, hopefully it doesn't bite us on the butt and cost us a top 4 spot. At this stage, it's a costly loss. I think that's I still think we're under par for the season. We'll get to that here, right? So in this segment, critical coaching and club decisions, we're 2 wins from 5 matches, and we won't go into too much detail, but basically the point I wanted to make here was that I made a note here last week that if I'm just going to be able to see this thing so I can read it. I basically said if we win next week, which was last week, it could start a run of form with a healthy, improving squad and a softer draw coming up. So we won. Now I've kind of predicted that we should be going on to a run here. I think we are building towards that, and we've got a really good opportunity this week against the Roosters. What did you want to touch on there, James?
It was more when you mentioned the dropping the Canberra game. I was thinking about that today, and because at the time I thought, on paper we should have beat that team, but the Raiders have been they've been incredibly solid start of the season. I think the game that we actually dropped was the Cowboys game. I mean, I'm giving the Raiders credit. I think they're a way better team that people are giving them credit for.
The thing for me is that it was a home match, and the only thing that lost us the match was the tactics. So I think if the coach came in with a more conservative game plan, we would have won that match. We're a better team than Canberra. But look, they got us early in the season. We didn't execute the right game plan, and they smashed us, basically. So good on them, but I still think it bites on the butt. And look, the thing that gives the Cowboys less weight in my eyes is that it was an away match, which we struggle in North Queensland normally. But the fact that we were up 12-0 at halftime and we let that slip, it's if I had to pick out one game, it's Canberra, but I can definitely see where you're coming from there with the Cowboys. We should have won that match. Like Phil Gould said, we held the lead 2 times with 2 surges in the match where the momentum went our way, and then we just kind of let it slip right at the end. It was, disappointing. But anyway, we're on a different path now. We've really changed that trajectory now in the last 3 matches against Melbourne. Good win. Close loss against the Warriors, who a lot of people are now tipping to come first and make the grand final, or maybe win the grand final. A lot of people in the media, Andrew Johns, I've heard say, Phil Gould, that these people are kind of talking the Warriors up. So if they're talking the Warriors up to actually win comp, then, we actually bombed that match against them, and when we were not decimated, but we had a lower strength rating, traveling to the Warriors, and we had 2 basically just short passes to make, and we would have won that match. So look, are the Knights that far off the team that the experts are saying they're going to basically make the grand final and challenge for a premiership? Okay, what we're going to do now is roll into a message from our season sponsor, MB Optimal Oral Care. MB Optimal Oral Care are our season sponsor of the Knighthood podcast. They have a range of zero plastic oral care products that are best for you and best for the planet. You can check out their full range of products via Chemist Warehouse online. Find the link in the description. It's time to stop. It's time to stop and rethink your oral care routine. MB Optimal Oral Care offers a range of oral care products that are best for you and best for the planet. We've got them selling tongue scrapers. They sell zero plastic oral care things like toothbrushes and floss picks, and they sell this awesome toothpaste in tablets in little glass jars. And the dental industry necessarily hasn't made products that are best for you or best for the planet. So stop and rethink your oral health today. Visit MB Optimal Oral Care on Chemist Warehouse online. Search MB EMBI-OOC on Chemist Warehouse, or you can search online as well.
Good stuff.
Rightio. We're into the second half of the show. Maybe you can run through this one, James. Injuries and suspensions. We're on the back end. Let's go.
Yeah, so the Knights are just missing Tyson and Frizzell. If we go down to the strength rating, the full strength rating, we're at 94%. So we're looking pretty good. Obviously Tyson's a huge loss, but bringing in Dylan Lucas is, it's a great replacement, I think. Yeah. Roosters, on the other hand, they're missing some guys. So they're missing Spencer Leniu, suspension. Dom Young got suspended last week. Yes, considering how our kick defusal is. So that's going to help us out. Big one, Teddy. They're missing Sam Walker, Billy Smith, and Sandon Smith. So
we're getting excited. They're down.
Yeah.
The Roosters are down, eh? And then
they are.
Obviously, we're in the preview here for round 6. And last year, if anyone can remember, I think the Roosters beat us by 2 points when they were absolutely decimated. And we took them lightly here at home and we lost. So I think there will be a bitter taste in the coach's mouth and the players who played that match. They won't forget that. And I think that's a really strong reason why the Knights are a get on this week. Just the key points before we go. We haven't actually added in here Marju on the injuries. I've got mail that Marju will start the match in replacement for Jennings, and let's get into Jennings.
Jenkins.
God, I've called him Jennings again. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
You got Michael Jennings on the brain.
I do.
Come back. That's what it is.
Jenkins. All right, Jenkins. All right,
Jenkins.
Let's go. Jenkins. Well, we called to drop him last week, and it's another hard decision the coach is going to make this week. If Marju is unfit, does he keep Jennings? I've done it again. It's one of those slips. Jenkins, does he keep him in the side? What do you think, James?
I assume he will. I saw some footage that Armstrong was playing well in reserve grade. There's surely he's an option. Whether or not he go down that path. Centers.
But Frizzell's out.
And move Gagai to the wing?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, it's an option. I honestly think if Marzu is not ready to roll, he'll probably stick with Jenkins.
Another hard decision is that the coach has got to decide if Marju is back. Does he keep Tawala on the good side of the left side, that attack, or does he put Marju there? I'd be keeping Tawala there. I think that's based on the performances and the combination that they're starting to build.
Absolutely.
It's a potent attack there on the left, so I'd be keeping Tawala on that side and switching Marju to the other right side. And fortunately for the coach, he doesn't have too many hard decisions to make this week, and we're only talking about wingers. So, good times for the Knights, 94% strength rating. Let's go. Do you want to run through the teams list here, James?
Yep, I'll do
Have
my
a
best
crack.
considering.
Yep. I'll run through the smaller one, the interchange and the reserves.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, for the Knights, in the backs, we got fullback Kalen Ponga. Listed here is Thomas Jenkins. Obviously, that could change. Centers, Dane Gagai and Bradman Best. Winger, Anari Tuwala, and the halves, once again, Jack Cogger and Jackson Hastings, coming off the back of their very solid performance last week. For the Roosters this week, we have at fullback Joey Manu, on the wing Daniel Tupou, in the centers the Michael Jennings. There we go.
There he is.
Right, he's got
Jennings
a start.
on the line.
Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, he's getting a start.
Jennings is there. Yeah.
And we got
Joseph. He didn't get a start from the NRL to recognise his 300th match, but that's another story. We don't get into too much rumours and stuff here. So anyway, keep going.
No, we'll let that go through to the keeper.
Yep.
The other centre is Joseph Suali'i. On the other wing is Ponga, is it? I can't pronounce his first name. Sorry.
Either can I.
Paga.
Let's go,
Yeah,
Paga.
I think they pronounce it Ponga, actually.
Who cares? He's a Roosters player. Paga.
All right. In the halves, we've got ex-Knights player Connor Watson. I like Connor Watson. Then we've got Luke Keary as the halfback.
He's a good guy, but I hope we smash him. Look, it's a bit of a decimated backline there for the Roosters. However, they are one of the best, strongest squads in the comp. So, look, is that backline good enough to win them a match? Yeah, it is. So I think that's the bottom line. And with us, I hope to see Marju come in there in the wing, which will, I think, strengthen us and take out the potential liability of Jenkins.
Yeah, right. And look, you got Daniel Tupou in there, and geez.
Yep, there's enough strike to beat us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's run through the forwards.
Yep. So the forwards for the Knights, we've got front row Jacob Saifidi. At hooker, we have Jaden Brayley, who was really good last week. I was really impressed with him. The other front row is Leo Thompson, Dylan Lucas at number 11, Kai Pearce-Paul, the other second rower, and Adam Elliott at lock. And for the Roosters, we got the veteran Jared Warrior-Hargreaves, Brandon Smith at hooker, Lindsay Collins, very solid player at front row as well. Yep. In the back row, we've got Nat Butcher and Angus Crichton, with Victor Radley at lock.
There's a chance Collins might not actually play.
Okay.
But let's assume that he does and look at that. I mean, is that a fullback that could take it to the Knights? I'd say we have an edge. I'd say if we aim up like we did last week, we're better. I think Hargreaves is on his last year. Collins has been injured.
I think our forward pack
hot and cold, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think our forward pack is very capable of running over those guys.
I think we'll do them. Looking at that, I think we've got a good edge. Okay,
all right,
so
you're up.
I'll run over the interchange. So on the Knights bench, we've got Crossland, Safidi, Hetherington, and Crocker. So I think that's unchanged. So good stability here in our team, and for the Roosters, we've got Zach Docker Clay, or is it Decker or Docker? It's pretty small. We can't say. I think it's Docker Clay.
It is Docker.
Nathaniel White, Silly Tupanua, and we've got Terrell May.
That's it.
And then there's no point even run over the reserves there. Let's just stay focused on the 1 to 17. I think What do you think of the 4 players there on the bench? We're unchanged, and I think our bench was quite effective last week. And how do you think that lines up against the Roosters? I think we've got an edge here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really watched the Roosters too much, so I don't know much about Docker Clay or White. Obviously, Tupanua is a class player, and
Yep.
Terrell May, I don't really know a whole lot about him either. Looking at our bench, it was good last week. Jack Hetherington's getting better. He's been playing really well. I think Phoenix last week he looked a lot freer. He didn't seem to be playing with the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Yeah, I agree.
I think to start the season, he looked under pressure and he's making errors. So maybe this is what he needed. So yeah, I think. Yeah, it's a good bench. The only thing I will bring up in the reserves is obviously we've got Greg Marzu down the bottom there. So
okay,
he could
he'll come in.
He could come in. He'll come in. Yeah,
he'll come in.
We think.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's the mail. Our mail, Knighthood podcast mail, is Marju will play on the wing and on the right wing, not the left. Rightio. Players on notice is Jenkins. Jenkins probably won't play this week. Not Jennings. So clean sheet. Move on. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
That can change in a week. You're only as good as your last match. Okay, we're going to run through some stats here. Round 6, Roosters versus Knights head-to-head stats. Okay, so last week, if we compared the stats of the 2 matches, a bit of a mixed matchup. The back 5 for the Knights ran 5.98 and the Roosters ran 5.88. So pretty similar stats. And I think both games were in the wet too. Starting middle forwards for the Knights, 365 compared to the Roosters at 165. That's glaring.
They got owned against the Dogs, didn't they?
Yeah, there may have been an injury in there, but still, that's a massive difference in stat there, isn't it? So
it's huge. Yeah, huge.
Our starting back row for the Roosters ran more at 291 compared to our 227, but I'm happy with our starting back row. I think, I think we're pretty evenly matched up there. The bench, we ran for 284. They ran for 147. So there you go. Their bench looks pretty weak in terms of meters. The halves and the hooker, we ran for 144. They ran for 162. So Brandon Smith, obviously his darts out of hooker are going to be pretty key, I think, for the Roosters. That's definitely something the Knights need to watch. But his craft as a hooker is, to be kind of debated, isn't it? So more of a runner, but that's, I guess you play to your strengths, and that's something the Knights have to watch out for. I don't think the Roosters are going to have an issue with goal kicking. Walker's out, so while he's in, he's at 86%. He can kick, Ponga can kick, so there won't be any kind of clear edge there, I think, in the goal kicking. Both, it's just going to depend on where they score the tries. Offloads, the Roosters have more offloads in them, but if we kind of turn up and play similar style to what we played last week, I'm happy at the moment. If it's dry, I'd like to see more offloads. That's definitely, and I'd like to see KPP starting to chime in a bit with KP to pick KP. So it's a bit of a tongue twister.
Mate.
But that if they start getting the timing right, there that start to, when he gets his hands free and Ponga off that, God, it just adds another dimension in there, makes us pretty lethal, which is what we touched on in our season preview. We'd hope that we see that, and I reckon my prediction is that we do see that this week. I reckon there's a good chance that you might see a try assist from KPP to KP. That's one of our tips. All right.
Hope so.
The errors in this head-to-head, we made less errors than the Roosters, so that's good if we can continue that trend. Penalties, we gave away less penalties. The Roosters have scored more points than us, 124 to our 88, but I think our attack has been building, and I think this week we will see a lethal attack as long as we get our fundamentals right. But the last 2 weeks we have. So coming out of that wet game, I think now we're going to see a lethal attack from the Knights. This is a great opportunity for us to really put a bit of a rubber stamp on where we are for 2024 as a team, and to kind of show everyone, that we are marching on towards the top 4. So defense is even. Both teams are pretty good defensively. 89 points conceded for the Roosters and a 91 for the Knights. Okay, so key stats, Roosters versus Knights. The Roosters are basically 2 wins and 3 losses. They've played 2 home matches and they've played 3 away matches. One was in Vegas. They're coming off a bad loss against the Bulldogs, but they showed great spirit in the second half. So I expect that they will continue to bring that into this Knights game. The first 20 minutes are pretty key. If we can basically take it to them in the first 20 minutes and show them that we're, who's boss on our home ground, there's a good chance the Knights will get on top of them and run away with it, kind of like they did against the Dragons. They've played their last 4 matches in Sydney, the Roosters, so they're pretty fresh, even though they've got injuries. So that's an interesting thing to consider. They've got a 76% strength rating, not 70%. So 76%. So they've still got enough of a squad to beat us if we don't turn up and play. Last year they beat us when we were basically when they were down on troops and we were heavy favourites and we should have won that game. And it was only 1 or 2 games last year cost us the top 4 position at the end of the day. So that could have cost us the top 8 or top 4 position last year. And we've got to get it right this year. We've definitely got to get it right this year. I think we played well under lights and at home last week in the rain. And I think the Roosters are under pressure coming into this match. They're under way more pressure than what we are. But the fact is that both teams are, I think we've got it in the notes. We're both on 2 from 3. So we've both won 2 and lost 3. It's a critical match for both sides, especially for the Knights. We're at home. Makes it more critical for us to get this victory.
It'll be a big crowd.
Yeah. So getting into that, weather forecast is clear. So here we are in that segment. Weather forecast is clear with moderate crosswinds. We've got Jared Sutton refereeing the match.
Ooh.
I don't. Okay, you might know more than me. Look, I think ultimately that we've got a winning record of 48% with Sutton, and the Roosters have a winning record of 56%. So I'm not seeing any clear bias there or anything that kind of makes me think we should be watching the ref for a bias. So not too bad. Did you have any thoughts there on Sutton? You're not a fan of him, or?
No, I felt like having a dig at a ref. There was nothing personal. I felt like booing the ref. That's all.
It's just
that's
like
all it was.
a nervous twitch, huh?
That's all it was. Yeah, I just thought
I love
I'd
it.
stick it to the ref.
I
That's all
love
that pent up anger I've got towards the bunker. It's just been taken out of Jared Sutton.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
Sorry, Jared.
Well, key question here is how's the match going to be managed, and that's only something that you'll know in the game. So you've got to watch that live. And but at this stage, there's no kind of clear indication that's going to be reffed in a certain way, or there's a bias against our team, and the weather's looking pretty clear. So that now is going to roll us into our final analysis. Knights' strength rating is 94% versus the Roosters' 76%. So we have a clear advantage there. We're building momentum as a team, and the Roosters are fighting to survive. They've had a pretty tough run, and their backs are against the wall. I think both teams, who we said, on the same ladder position at 2 wins and 3 losses. I think the Roosters are going to turn up with their backs against the wall, and they will start this match strong. But I think that flame will be put out pretty early as long as we play as we have been the last 2 weeks, get the fundamentals right, and then pour on the pressure with our attack. And that's what I'm actually predicting will happen. I think the Knights are confident that they can build on last week's performance, and I think the Knights need to improve their attack, and will be focused on that. They'll be at training this week saying, let's execute this attack. Let's get it going. Let's keep the fundamentals right. Let's execute the attack against the weakened Rooster side, and let's not drop our marbles like we did in 2023 at home. Let's get it right here for the fans and get our season moving in the right direction. I did make a note there that starts vital for both sides. We've already touched on that. So look, we get into an arm wrestle, we get on top, and most likely we will, and we march on. Let's hope we don't. When we try and turn on our attack, I hope we don't have a repeat of the Raiders' performance and not click. But now that we've got the spine kind of right, Hopefully it's right. And we earn the right to attack, and we march on here to a good, solid victory. Any thoughts there, James?
No, I think you nailed it. I think, the point you made about the Roosters' backs against the walls, and, they're going to come out strong because of how poor they were in that first half against the Dogs. So Trent Robinson is going to have them pumped, and, there's no doubt that they're going to be coming out strong. So, the Knights have got to earn the right to, excuse me. They've got to put the work in, then execute those plays when they're in those positions. And I think, with the weakened Roosters team, if we can control the ball and do the right thing with it, we'll get away with a victory.
So what? Yeah, spot on. Look, it feels real clear to me. And the whole process that we're going through the Knighthood podcast now, it takes around 5 hours a week to really put this together and to follow a system. So every week it's the same, and that system we go through meticulously, and we've now got a process that's producing results like this. So we're going to get into our season betting tally. James, you had a pretty good start with your betting, but at the minute you're turning a loss of 8% on your. So basically, the way that we're measuring this is that, let's say you're betting $100 a match on every game. Basically, we keep a tally based off the performance of our bets. So. And our tips. So James, mine is 8%. We'll call you a novice punter. You're not really a known punter. And you started well. You had a bit of, maybe we'll call it beginner's luck. Let's see as the season goes. And then last couple of weeks, you've made some calls that have seen the profit go down. But look, overall, you've only lost $39. If you're betting $100 a week, you're down 8%. It's not the end of the world, isn't it? And it's pretty easy to turn it around from there. So look, overall, when you make your predictions this week, you'll be looking to turn that around. And I'm a bit more of an experienced punter. To be frank, I've been doing it ever since I was pretty young, and and I would say I'm an experienced punter, and I'm putting together the system so that we can basically help educate people to make better decisions of betting and be more profitable with betting. And basically everything here that I'm tipping, I'm backing myself. And, I'm having a crack. And so far the season's going well. My tally's at 18% profit, which is quite high. In terms of the bets that we've put on, I'd be making an $88 profit on $100 bets. But if you were betting more, you'd be making a lot more. So 18% is a great return on investment for 5 weeks. My strike rate is 4 wins and 2 losses for bets at 66%. To beat the bookies, you've got to be around that percentage. And you've got to be getting average odds over $1.80. And my average odds is $1.87 at the moment. My match predictions for the Knights is at 4 wins and 1 loss. James is at 3 wins and 2 losses. So you're tipping at 60% for the Knights. And I'm tipping at 4 out of 1 for the Knights. So only match that got me is the Canberra one, and that's probably why I'm harping on it earlier in the pod. So that's that. And the Knights have head-to-head of 1-2 and lost 3. So you're still tipping better than what the Knights are actually performing on the field, which is good. You just got to clean up some of your selections, and hopefully I can continue on. If I can land around 15 to 20% profit for the year, I'll be stoked. And I guess my aim is to be somewhere around 25%, just to let you know. And that's what we'll be aiming for. And then the other thing that we're going to touch on here is we haven't done a live bet yet. Well, last week we did a live bet. I made that live on X. So when I actually personally placed the bet, I put a post on X, and that's how it's going to roll with live bet. So if you want to get in on the action, when I make a live bet, I'm going to post on X. So gamble responsibly, but that's where it's going to be. So you've got to tune in on X. I won't be announcing it pre-match. If you tune into X and keep an eye on it, you'll see when I post the live bet, and you can get on and follow me if you like, but gamble responsibly. Obviously follow your own betting strategy. But look, I've only put out one tip. We won. That bet was, we'll get onto that now. It's, I'll just show it here. So the X Files, I made a post here on Twitter or X. And the betting plays to watch the first 10 to 20 minutes. This is pre-match. Watch the first 10 to 20 minutes, see how the match is being managed by the officials, assess the night's energy levels, and see if they get off to a good start. And if they do, they'll go on with it and they'll cover the line. Gamble responsibly. So that's what my call was before the match. And then on the right there, you can see I backed the Knights at -16.5. I think that's when they were actually up 24-10. And then I was behind at halftime. We scored at the end and we got up. In hindsight, I probably should have placed that bet a little bit earlier. Actually, around the time when that Dragons scored that try, it would have been a much better bet. This was a bit too close for comfort for me. But you know, I basically called it pre-match and followed through and landed that bet. So the betting formula here for the Knighthood podcast is that we follow a system of selection. Okay, so this podcast is the system. We show you everything. If you watch it from start to finish, you can see what that system of selection is. We make a call, and then we basically stick to it. We don't change after we've made the call, we've made the bet. To make a live bet, I won't be making them every week. It's got to be when I see a clear edge. So I'm going to go in there with a line of thought pre-match, and then if it's going in that direction, I'll make the bet. Or if I see something in the match that actually triggers me to think, geez, we've got to get on here, I will post on X. So that's a really good reason to have an X account and to follow our in-game comments and look for live bets opportunities. One thing we should be doing is keeping our staking even. So like $100 a week or, $200, whatever you can afford to do. Don't bet more than you can afford to do. Measure your results. And that's what we do every week. We're not just like, the mainstream media or the other podcasters out there who go and, throw out tips there, but they don't get measured. We're accountable to our results. It's here to show. Everyone can see, we're on notice every single week. We're on trial and we can get stoned if we don't do well. So
that's me.
That's James is getting stoned at the moment on the wall,
mate.
And that,
yeah.
Funnily
I'm
enough,
struggling.
Last time. James Wall's on the wall.
Yes.
Stoned.
I'm
Hopefully none
struggling.
of the green stuff.
No.
Anyway, so we're focused on constant improvement. That's our formula, 1 through to 5 there. And our rules: never bet more than you can afford to lose. Never chase your losses. Focus on long term, not in the moment. And if you can't control it, quit. Radio. James, odds for the week: Knights to win $1.52, Roosters to win $2.55, Knights at the line -5.5 is $1.90. Knights 1 to 12, $2.94. Knights 13 plus $3. What's your bet?
Yeah, so initially, before I saw who was out of the Roosters team, I didn't think I could pick the Knights. So, but that's changed, and I'm going to have to be conservative this week. I'm just going to put the 100 on the Knights to win at $1.52.
Okay, good man. He's
going conservative.
He's been on the wall getting pumped by those rocks, those stones. So,
yeah,
he's a bit wounded, and
I am.
He wants to come in, get back in the black. Yeah. So if you win
Pretty
this
much,
bet, you'll be back in the black. You'll be building on your record and moving back in the right direction. So I think I've already placed the bet. Now, what I will also do on X is if I see a play earlier before the podcast, I will inform everyone on X that I've made the play. I got on the Knights at -3.5 at $1.90 because I knew there's a good solid chance that the line is going to change. I did all this analysis on Sunday. I was looking at the markets and I thought I was quite confident that the Knights would cover the line in this match. So I got it at -3.5. I don't normally like covering lines more than 3.5. So that for me, I got on. And I will do that I'll let you know on X. So if that happens next time, keep an eye on X for the get-ons. Current line is now -5.5. So I've already got some value there. I've proved there that the market is going in the direction of where my head's at. Look, what's your confidence level out of 10 this week, James, for your bet?
I'm really confident, particularly after the way we played against the Dragons and particularly in those conditions, how we really stuck to a game plan. I think in good conditions against a weakened Roosters team, with our attack improving, that I'm confident that we'll win. I'm an 8 out of 10 confident that we'll get the victory.
Okay, good. My confidence level is at a 9 this week. I'm pretty.
Yep.
Yep, I'm gonna say the Knights will win this match, and I'm gonna say that it will be an improved performance, and I think it will go as we've actually described. We'll arm wrestle early. We'll get on top. Our attack will click. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying we're going to flog the Roosters, but I wouldn't be surprised to see us winning 13 plus this week. So my get on for the week is cover the line. I still think at 5.5, it's a go. But remember, always gamble responsibly. So that is the call. I went over that. If you're going to, just in general, I think it's a good thing. I've got a bit of a thing here. Observe the first 15 to 20 minutes. Watch the game closely. Watch the way the refs are basically managing the match. Look at the energy levels of the team, and look at the execution of the teams for the conditions of the match. See who's executing better, and look for turning points. So, for example, last week the Dragons got ahead, but those 2 tries, like you said, James, were a bit fluky. We couldn't really defend those. And then the Knights came back, instantly hit back and scored. And then they went on a run. So that there was a turning point. And that was a moment, really, if you were really sharp with the betting, that's when you'd bet. Because the game's kind of going in a direction that you think it's going to go. The Dragons get ahead, but they shouldn't really have been ahead. And then instantly we got back on top of them, and there you go. So
yeah,
these are the type of things that we're going to look for when we're betting live. So tune in to X Live to get those updates. And as I mentioned, gamble responsibly. Don't bet more than you can afford to lose, and don't chase your losses. Rightio. So, yeah, that wraps us up, James. Another good one, huh? Feeling confident this week about our it's a good time of the year, the podcast is about riding this season together. We're both passionate Knights supporters, and we love having a bit of a punt, and we love being right and beating the bookies. So I feel like we're right in that zone right now. Very confident that we're going to have a great week and great, leg up into the weekend on Thursday night, early weekend.
Yeah, mate, can't wait for the game. And like I was telling you about before we went on air, is we're round 6 already. It's gone so quick. But having a great time doing this, and I look forward to next week. Hopefully, under circumstances of a Knights victory. I'm pretty confident of that.
Yeah, 8 out of 10. I'm 9. So that's great. Now, guys, if you've liked the show tonight, please subscribe to our YouTube station. We need your support. We need subscribers. We need likes. Definitely give us some love there. This is also available on Spotify and Apple if you want to get on the audios on the daily commute. As I mentioned before, we're pretty heavy on X, not so much on Facebook. We do have a Facebook account, but most things action's going to be on X. And that pretty much wraps us up. I'm psyched. I'm fired up for Thursday night footy.
Yeah, mate, can't wait. It's Tuesday now, so we've only got a few days to go, and I can't remember the last Thursday night game we had, but bring it on, fire up,
mate, fire up. And the Knights, we got the team song in the sheds last week, so let's hear it again. And thanks, James. Look forward to a great Knights win this week, and we'll review the match next week.
No worries, mate. See you next week.
See you, mate.